we have another speaker in this session. Is Paula Albuquerque, an artist and scholar with a postdoc in artistic research at the University of Amsterdam. She is the head of the Master of Artistic Research at this university and senior researcher at the Gerrit Rietveld Academy. Her artworks have been exhibited in New Dakota Gallery, Museum Bureau Amsterdam, Radboud Projects Gallery, always again in Amsterdam, International Film Festival Rotterdam, Sheffield Document Fest, and she also published a book, Enter the Ghost, Anti-Media Ecologies, and the webcam as an emerging cinematic medium, 2018. She is introducing a very important topic, the three models of the third cycle, and starting from this, she will focus on somatic and artificial intelligence, epistemic production at the Rietveld Academy. Welcome, please welcome Paula Albuquerque.
Well, thank you very much for this invitation. I will be mainly focusing on our experience of the CRD. So I feel like my presentation is actually quite complementary to the one we just had by Professor Brown. And I will be sharing my screen. So, okay, so I will be mainly reading from my notes, and these are based on pre-existing information, most of it from a text by Dr. Jeroen Omgaard, who could not be here today, and some other information that is actually produced by the artists themselves who are participating in the CRD. So beginning with our project in third cycle education in the arts at the Gerrit Rietveld Academy, there are now three models. These are the Creator Doctus, so the CRD, which is currently in its second edition, the Professional Doctorate, the PD, which is being modeled into its first pilot nationwide, actually, in the Netherlands. And finally, the PhD, which entails a flexible protocol that is decided between a university with the power to award a degree and a practice-oriented supervision provided by the Rietveld Academy. This is the PhD that I actually did, which was then followed by a postdoc following the same model. My main focus will be on the Creator Doctus, which is a degree created to complement the current Doctor of Philosophy PhD by recognizing artists' work as high standard research. With a specific trajectory, the 3-year research period leads to the production of a body of artistic works or projects instead of the traditional third cycle written dissertation. This reflects the research area which has been decided and developed in collaboration with a societal partner. So after years of preparation, the first CRD pilot was launched in 2017 with a project by Yael Davids, an artist, in collaboration with the Van Abbe Museum in Eindhoven, in the Netherlands. This was the first test for the model in which an artist conducts research for 3 years in collaboration with a social institution, with the end result consisting of artistic output. However, in this case, art is here to be carried out as research, which implies it must be able to present itself as research. During a pilot, it is possible to carefully analyze processes and results. The researcher who takes part in the pilot needs to be ready to engage with an experimental trajectory, which does not offer a resounding title or expensive diploma. That requires a great deal of flexibility due to the supporting frame not yet being solid. David's research trajectory has exceeded our expectations for the CRD and further helped develop it in the process. Our main priorities from the start were to ensure excellent supervision for the research and an experienced and internationally renowned assessment committee. Cher Doraf was the supervisor on behalf of the Rietveld Academy, and Nick Akins on behalf of the Van Abbe Museum. Doraf, at that time affiliated with the Academy as a senior researcher, is an internationally recognized expert in the field of artistic research with vast experience in supervising and assessing third cycle research in various European countries. Akins is a curator at Van Abbe and directs the research program Divine Practice. The results of the research consisted of installations that Davids had made in the context of Documenta 14 in Kassel, Feldenkrais lessons in the Van Abbe Museum, texts she had written in connection with this, and a closing exhibition in the museum with a visitor's guide written by her. The results also included a report of the study, a reasoned account of the steps, and choices for adjustments made in the course of the study. After a 6-month delay due to COVID-19 pandemic, to the pandemic, David's defense took place on September 28, 2020 at the Gerrit Rietveld Academy. Due to the ongoing pandemic, some of the assessment committee members were only able to attend digitally and were also unable to participate in any of David's Feldenkrais classes and visit the exhibition. The committee consisted of Dora Garcia Lopez, artist and professor of contemporary art at the Oslo National Academy of the Arts; Jennifer Lacey, head of dance at Stockholm University of the Arts; Grant Watson, curator and researcher in London, specializing in curatorial theory; Francisca Zolion, art historian and curator, and since 2012, director of GFZK in Leipzig; Sruti Bala, associate professor in theater studies at the University of Amsterdam; Flavia Zodan, writer, media analyst, cultural critic, and senior researcher at the Sandberg Institute; and myself in the quality of head of the Master of Artistic Research at the University of Amsterdam and as senior researcher at the Gerrit Rietveld Academy. Both the experience with the results of artistic research and international reputation were paramount in the selection of the evaluation committee members. The experiment with the Creator Doctus can only be called successful if it contributes to international recognition of the trajectory. It was therefore of great importance that an Erasmus Plus grant was obtained in 2018 for a 3-year partnership with a number of European academies to explore the possibilities of the CRD. In addition to the Gerrit Rietveld Academy, this coalition consisted of EQ Arts, which Professor John Brown just gave a presentation about, which is an international accreditation organization based in Amsterdam, the Glasgow School of Art, the Vilnius Academy of the Arts, the Athens School of Fine Arts, the Merz Academie in Stuttgart, the Royal Danish Academy of Fine Arts in Copenhagen, and the École Nationale Supérieure d'Art de Paris-Cergy. In addition to symposia and training sessions, the intensive collaboration resulted in 2 publications and a final exhibition. The publications, which are the Creator Doctus Constellation, exploring a new model for a doctorate in the arts, and a framework of good practices for third cycle doctoral awards in the creative and performing arts and design sector, explore the possibilities and obstacles of a third cycle in art research, and provide a guide to the design of such trajectories. Part of the collaboration was also the setting up of an international survey of existing third cycle programs for the arts. So for the publications, you can follow the link on the PDF. The Erasmus collaboration ended with an exhibition and a symposium moderated by myself. The exhibition, Processing Space-Times, curated by Astrid Corporal in the New Dakota Art Space in Amsterdam, showed work by international artists who were pursuing or had completed a third cycle education. This exhibition offered little text and explanation, with the work standing alone as epistemic manifestations of research. Quoting Jeroen Boomgaard, beginning of quote, "Each of them evoked a world, or rather worlds, that lay outside the exhibition space and even outside art, but which came together convincingly in the work, an evidence based on thorough research," end of quote. These results made clear how a third cycle track in the arts can distinguish itself from more academic disciplines. The completed research by Davids and the ongoing second CRD pilot research by Femke Hedegraven also show the specific ability of art research to bring elements together in a sensory construction. As the results of Davids and Hedegraven demonstrate, art research makes visible connections which a research dissertation would not, due to getting stuck in fragments that cannot be brought together by purely discursive terms. Only the sensory tools artists develop can manifest content at this level. Well-executed artistic research eludes the laws of discourse. It cannot be explained in linguistic terms, which impacts on supervision and assessment. Dorff and Aikens learned that supervising David's research required them to become part of it, and thus, so as to understand the potential effect of the Feldenkrais classes, they took weekly classes from Davids. Artistic results of third cycle research deserve primary attention from the assessment committee to shift the debate during the public defense away from the textual elements. However, we are still researching how best to manifest results, as the committee needs more time and energy to really engage with the research as it manifests materially as artwork. Visiting the exhibition and attending the performance seem not to be enough. Should the results fall, when we're talking about research results, if they fall outside the area recognized and acknowledged by the peers of the respective fields of research, artistic research can resort to methods from other disciplines by choosing a position in the non-limited, uncharacterized field of interdisciplinarity, transdisciplinarity, and transmediality. So the book you are seeing here is published a few months ago by Arias Amsterdam, a platform that brings together all the educational institutions in Amsterdam, and has been edited by Jeroen Boomgaard, Katie Clark, and Lieke Scholz. I will now share information about Jael Davids' CRD in collaboration with the Van Abbe Museum in Eindhoven, whose work focused on the Feldenkrais technique as a method for somatically experiencing art. The exhibition, A Daily Practice, consists of a selection of David's own work, varying from sculpture to performance and installation, presented throughout 10 galleries in combination with works by such artists as Hilma af Klint, Lee Lozano, Adrian Piper, and Stanley Brown. A number of these works were being exhibited in the Netherlands for the first time. Additionally, a program was devised by the artist entitled The School, consisting of demonstrations and Feldenkrais classes, which had to be postponed for 6 months due to the pandemic. In this program, which took place in September 2020, Davids offered newly conceived classes in relation to works in the Van Abbe Museum's collection. Davids' research, commissioned by the Van Abbe Museum, focuses on somatic learning and is inspired by the work of Moshe Feldenkrais, who developed a method based on the principle that changing the way we move leads to a change in how we think, observe, and feel. This principle has inspired David's approach to the museum, its collection, and the exhibition, where she challenged habitual patterns of looking at art within the walls of the museum. For the Van Abbe, the exhibition represented a step in the development of new ways for visitors to experience art through movement and the whole body, rather than only with the eye and the intellect stimulated by a vertical positioning in the space. The focus of David's research and daily practice consisted of 3 phases. In the first phase, Davids realized a reading that loves, a physical act, for Documenta 14. In Athens, the work manifested as an installation, and in Kassel as a performance installation. The work combined moments when David's own personal biography intersects with history and the life stories of 4 women, each a cultural historical icon in their own right. The 4 female protagonists suffered complex societal conflicts in which each was confronted with the limits and creativity of their own selves. In the second phase of the research, the position of somatic learning in primary education in the Netherlands is central. This phase combined theoretical and artistic research with workshops in Eindhoven for professionals in primary education. The Feldenkrais method allows a non-normative exploration of one's own body movements to form your own sense of self, independent of existing conventions. This method can form a valuable addition to current primary education. David's workshops took place in the framework of a werksalon in the Van Abbe Museum. In the third and last phase, together with the Gerrit Rietveld Academy, Van Abbe Museum and partners in primary education, Davids wants to explore if somatic learning can be embedded in current educational practice. These are more views of the exhibition, and this is her curatorial project. I will now conclude with an overview of the work developed by our current CRD candidate, artist Femke Hedegraven, whose work in collaboration with the Wacht Society in Amsterdam focuses on artificial intelligence and the catastrophe bombs trade. The second CRD trajectory started in 2002 between Sandberg Institute and the Wacht Society in Amsterdam. Hedegraven has been selected for this pilot with her research project Evacuated, whilst also posing the question, how can a PhD dissertation of an artist be an artwork rather than a text? In a time when financial markets trade in potential future catastrophes, so-called cat bonds, the CRD trajectory starts from a question of agency. What is left to say about a future that is already mapped, calculated and traded on financial markets as a catastrophe? The Evacuated investigates how the catastrophe can be overcome as an anxious, monetized eventuality in the current discourse of doom, and instead be reactivated as a plot device and create a sudden turn in dominant stories of techno-capitalism and knowledge. The trajectory is supervised by Chris Julian on behalf of the Wacht, which is an institute that operates at the intersection of science, technology, and the arts, and Flavio Zodano, senior researcher and writer on behalf of the Sandberg Institute, which is the institute that harbors the master programs of the Gerrit Rietveld Academy. The co-funding for this second pilot is provided by the Creative Industries Fund, while the funding for the first CRD for Yael Davids was actually provided by the Mondrian Fund. And finally, after several years of preparation, a pilot for a professional doctorate in Dutch universities of applied sciences like the Gerrit Rietveld Academy will start at the beginning of 2023. The art academies have developed their own model for this pilot, which in terms of requirements and possibilities is very similar to the CRD, namely also due to our influence in the policy making, but is based on a research period of 4 years full-time or a maximum of 8 years part-time. That pilot will also have to prove itself, demonstrate that it can compete with existing PhD programs and be accepted as an equivalent title. For the Rietveld, the central question is how the two models relate to each other and whether we want to connect them to one another or to keep them both alongside each other, if funding permits, obviously. Most importantly, however, art research must prove itself in the next 5 years. It should show what it can do. It should give the concepts of impact and social value on which art research, but also much research in the humanities and social sciences is repeatedly judged negatively. So it should give these concepts an interpretation that makes clear how the power of art affects society. The first results of the CRD are promising in this regard. David's project was followed up at the Migros Museum in Zurich. The book will be published shortly, in which it is extensively documented. A workbook that should make it possible for others to get started, but David's research also has a direct impact on the participants of her Feldenkrais classes and on the Van Abbe Museum where they took place. We expect our second CRD to have the similar amount of impact. So now I'm going to try and stop sharing. And that was my presentation. I think my face was out of the screen most of the time. But
Thank you very much for these very interesting examples of the creator doctors and PhDs in the arts.